So I call the meeting order. Roll call been taken.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 2, pledge allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can be here this evening to discuss very important issues. May you give the counsel, the guidance, and the wisdom to make those decisions. May you bless each and every one of us. May you bless our community. May you bless our country. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.
Item 3, approval of minutes of the June 18th, June 27th, and July 2nd meetings.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no additions or corrections, I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, are there any communications? Nope. All right, item 5, public comments. Citizens may address the chair at this time. Please limit your comments to about 3 minutes to what pertains on the agenda. Is there anybody? Take it there's none. Item 6, reports, standing committees, boards, commissions, and Delavan Darien School District. Item 6.1, Finance Committee and Treasurer's Report.
Mr. Mayor, the Finance meeting met on July 9th. Everything we discussed is on the agenda for tonight, and I would move to receive the Treasurer's Report.
Second. Been a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.2, General Operations. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the GOC met July 2nd. Several of the agenda items that we discussed that evening are on our agenda this evening. And our next meeting is on August 6th, Tuesday, August 6th, at 5:30 here in this room.
All right, thank you. Item 6.3, Public Works. Mr. Stephens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works did meet on June 25th. A couple of the items that we talked about are also on tonight's agenda. Just a mention of a couple of the other items. We had a report from Jerry Fleming, who oversees the Delavan Mausoleum at the cemetery. Brought in pictures of the roof of the mausoleum in terrible repair, needs repair. So we did direct the committee to get some estimates for that. They do not have any money, the mausoleum group does not have any money for that, so it's something that we'll probably be seeing in the next month or so here. That was about it, other than the couple things that are on tonight's agenda that I'm sure we'll talk about later. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, and that will be as usual at 5:30 right in this room, and the public is welcome to attend.
Thank you. Item 6.4, Town of Delavan Lake Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Town of Delavan Lake Committee did not meet this past month. They will be meeting the first Wednesday of next month. I did put a little folder in each alderman's mail, and it pertains to a meeting that was held. It was a joint meeting with the Delavan Lake Sanitary District, the Delavan Lake Improvement Association, with a representative from the city of Delavan, a representative from the town of Walworth, and a representative from the Delavan Township. The meeting we had pertained to what I would term as the start of another lake cleanup project and some other projects that they have started looking at. In fact, I think last month that I brought up that they were spending $800,000 to do a dredging project and build a dredging machine. They have already ordered all the parts and everything. They will be building that. They wanted all the other representatives that are in the watershed for Delavan Lake to be at the meeting because they want everyone to contribute towards this. I don't know exactly what they're looking at for each group that's involved in it. I would certainly hope that it's not going back to the old room tax issue. However, we will be following them as to what they're doing and what they want done. There may be more than just myself going to some of the meetings out there, so, just so everybody knows. Did you all get copies of this?
I don't think I got one.
Okay, I
Unless
asked,
it's in there now.
Mailbox now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
oh, that's all.
All right, thank you, Ron. Item 6.5, Library Board of Trustees, Ms. Escherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Library Board of Trustees met on June 27th. They discussed plans for repairing the roof on the library. They approved a consulting agreement with McDonald Schaefer to begin the feasibility study for the library renovation project. And the next meeting is on July 25th at 5:30 at the library.
Thank you. Item 6.6, Park and Recreation Commission, Ms. Escherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met on June 24th, our last meeting, and we discussed the completion of the new playground at Phoenix Park. We also discussed the fountain that had been removed from Gormley Triangle Park that was to be reinstalled prior to July 4th. And we had a concerned citizen that had come in to speak about smoking near the playground equipment in the Delavan parks, and it was decided that signs would be placed on these locations asking smokers to stay a minimum of 20 feet from that equipment. The commission also approved an award of service for the improvements to Tower Park to Batterman with Angus Young, and that's to be discussed on our agenda tonight. So our next meeting is July 22nd at 5:30, right here.
Thank you. Item 6.7, Communications Commission, Mr. Trader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Communications Commission did not meet since our last city council meeting. We are scheduled to meet next month on Monday, August 19th. So those meetings are open to the public, as are all of our other boards and commission committees. So welcome your attendance and thoughts and ideas. So that's when we'll meet, is August 19th.
And if anyone's still interested in serving on the Communications Commission, let us all know.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Item 6.8, Delavan Downtown Project Management Team, Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did not meet since our last city council meeting. As you may recall, we had a joint May and June meeting that I reported at our last city council meeting. But I will reiterate some of the points as far as fresh markets are going strong. They've been, for the most part, they've had good weather on those Thursdays, and it continues to grow. I know they're still always looking for vendors, and now that we're, some of the fresh produce is finally coming into being produced, I think you'll see more vendors down there with those types of products. But if you haven't checked it out, I would certainly invite you. It's a great thing for the downtown, and again, it continues to grow each week, and that will go, it's every Thursday, and will go till September from 3 to 7. And then in addition to that, our next downtown event will be Maxwell Street Days on Friday, August 9th, and Saturday, August 10th. Again, encourage businesses to locate outside of their businesses, and kind of like the old days when many of us grown up recall. And so hopefully they certainly got great weather for that. In addition to that, obviously I know many of us have been attending the Friends of the Phoenix Park Band Shell programs. They're going strong in their 13th season, and there's always free, great entertainment on many of the days each week. Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and a lot of Sundays. So come on out. Obviously there's movies in the park as well on certain Fridays. And one of the downtown car show that the Friends of the Phoenix Park Band Shell had scheduled but got rained out has been rescheduled for August 11th. And so invite you to, if you have a classic car, or even if you don't, you just want to get out there and see the cars of yesteryears, this is a great opportunity to visit Phoenix Park on, again, August 11th. So our next committee meeting will take place on July 30th, and those meetings are open to the public, and would invite you to attend here at City Hall, again, on July 30th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.9, Dover Golf Commission. Just highlight some points. We met last June on the 20th. At that time, the commission approved the cart path pavement project, and it was also approved through the finance, and it'll be on tonight's agenda at a total cost of $553,000. We had a lengthy discussion on the removal of a tree on 8 North. Some people are attached to that tree, especially when they hit it over there or not hit it there. The month prior, we talked about maybe having the cart path veer to the left across the fairway toward that little pond between 1 and 8. Then after further review, we thought that's not a good thing either. So there was enough convincing of some of the people that wanted to keep that tree that it was best to take it down and plant new trees for the future generations of golfers, and not worry about us old guys that love that tree for some reason. So, and also Patricia was in our discussion too, and she felt that that tree needed to go too. So she gave the blessings as well. So in the end, that tree will be coming down when they do the cart paths. The greens roller, which was approved last month, had come in, and they're using it, and I can tell you the golfers like it, and through time it's going to even make the greens roll smoother. Not necessarily have to be faster, but more truer roll in the greens. So that's kind of been a positive thing. We also had discussion on the what do you call it, a wall bench that's going to be on hole number 1 in that area, and we're going to get the designs at some point when we discuss it more, but it's going to be like a wall with a bench and maybe like a little fire pit, but that's where we're going to have a sign dedicated to the Nelson family for their donation, so that people will see it right there. So that's, won't be obviously done until next year, but the planning for it has begun. The establishment of a new tree program. Basically, we've always had a tree program, but there's basically never enough or any money to implement a tree program. But now, with the monies, each year we're going to be planting trees in key areas that are needed, but have a regular plan each year. So that we'll be discussing more for next year. So anyways, our regular meeting is this coming Thursday at 6:30 here. So if you are interested in coming, it'll be in 2 days. So, all right. Item 6.10, Tourism Commission, Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tourism has not met since last month's meeting. Denise, do you have any dates scheduled for any meetings?
I think it's at the end of July.
Okay. I looked on my calendar today, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I think it's actually July.
We'll let you know when the next meeting is.
It's on there.
Okay,
It's,
thank you. All right, on item 7 is under Finance Committee 7.1, consider award of contract for the cart path paving project to Payne and Dolan out of Waukesha, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $553,994.10.
Mr. Mayor, this came before Finance Committee, and of course, just a minute ago, Mel mentioned that discussion of paving all the cart paths, and there was 2 bids that came in, one from Payne and Dolan, the other one from Wolf Paving. Payne and Dolan was the lowest of the 2, and I would move to award that contract to Payne and Dolman of Waukesha, Wisconsin, for amount not to exceed $553,994.10. And of course, $40,287 will come from our capital improvement budget that was originally planned for improvements to the golf course.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, may I have a roll call?
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Dexter Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stedman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.2, consider resolution designating a 1995 Chevy Cheyenne one-ton dump truck surplus property and authorizing its sale and/or disposal.
Mr. Mayor, this also came before Finance. The truck is no longer of use to the city, and I would move to, I might not be, I agree. Move to approve the attached resolution designating the 1995 Chevy Cheyenne one-ton truck as surplus property.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Dexter Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stedman?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Item 7.3, consider award of the professional design and engineering services for improvement to Tower Park and adjacent streets and utilities.
Mr. Mayor, this also came before Finance. A little history on it. It also went through Park and Rec and through Public Works to Finance. That's the speed of government. There was, I think they received proposals from 5 companies, and they interviewed 4 of them. And that interviewing committee was made up of city staff and aldermen, alderwomen, and some residents of the city of Delavan. So it was not taken, it was taken quite seriously. And the reason I bring that up is the city has budgeted $100,000 for this design. But if you look at the bids, and I think that's was questioned both at Public Works and at Finance, we're going to recommend that it go to Batterman and Angus Young, but their bid is the, what'd you say, it's in the middle. In other words, the lowest bid was $43,000 and theirs is $83,000. So there was a significant difference in price. But the committee and members of the committee talking to the Finance Committee felt that this was probably the best group to do the design for the Tower Park project. They had good ideas and good way to implement that ideas. And of course, Tom is here from Park and Rec if you have additional questions on that project. But I would move to award the professional design and engineering services to improve Tower Park and adjacent streets and utilities to Batterman and Angus Young for design phase of the project for a total cost not to exceed $83,450.
I'll second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is only for the design phase and not the construction phase? Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, we have a roll call.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stedman?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Dexter Brandt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.4, consider a 3-year 8 printing agreement for Parks and Recreation bulletin printing with Bliss Communications Incorporated out of Janesville.
Mayor, this also came before Finance, and before I get into it, we talked about it in Finance a little bit and awarding it to Bliss Communications, and they have a rider on there for paper costs.
Yes, the paper costs they said would not exceed, we did get that clarified a little bit further. They said it would not exceed 10% of the initial bid that they put forward. So the overall price would not exceed $1,834.80 per printing.
Per each year.
Per each printing of the guide, so each of the 8. That it would not exceed that price.
Not exceed the 1834, so it's not a compounded 10%.
Correct.
That was my question. I didn't ask that at Finance, so.
Yep.
Was there a second?
I'll move to award the 3-year agreement to Bliss Communications at a base price of $1,668 and a not-to-exceed price of $1,834 per year for a 3-year contract.
Second?
Been a motion and a second, any discussion?
And that would be per printing. We do 3 printings a year.
Excuse me, per printing.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt.
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz.
Yes.
Alderman Schrader.
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt.
Yes.
Alderman Henriette.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.5, consider the 2019 asphalt pavement material purchases from Payne and Dolan at an amount not to exceed $12,500.
Mr. Mayor, this also came before Finance, and I would so move.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion? If not, may we have a roll call, please?
Alderman DeWitt.
Yes.
Alderman Stebnitz.
Yes.
Alderman Schrader.
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt.
Yes.
Alderman Henriette.
Yes.
Alderman Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.6, consider $1,300 change order request from Walters Buildings relative to the salt shed roofing contract.
Mr. Mayor, this also became before Finance with quite a bit of discussion. It came out of Public Works with a motion to deny the change order. Chad Olson was in the audience for the Finance Committee and pleaded his case. And the problem with the reason for the change order was, from my understanding, is the cement base was put in, but the base was not level. There was a 2-inch difference from one side to the other, causing him to have to cut all those metal panels to make the roof and building look square. So given that additional information, the Finance moved to approve the $1,300 change order for Walters Construction. But when we approved that change, I should also point that authorizes the final payment to them as well. So the final payment is $21,492.75. And then if we approve the change order will be $1,300 on top of that $21,472.75, and that's my motion.
I would second that.
Is it clear?
Well, I think it's clear, but adding the 21,000, is that,
Just a clarification is the final, for when we make the final payment release, it has to be authorized by the Finance Committee. So there's no council action. The only thing the council has to act on is the change order. But the Finance Committee gave direction that to make that final payment with or without depending on council action. So I think Alderman DeWitt wanted to make sure that the council was aware that this will not hold up the final payment. If the council approves the change order, that final payment will be adding that change order amount to it. If the council doesn't approve the change order, then the $21,000 will be issued to the contractor. Does that
Well
make sense?
explained.
okay,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
I'd just like to further clarify on that. Chad Olson was not at Public Works, so we didn't have a clear picture, and because we didn't have the change order at the time of the change, that's why we denied it. He came to Finance, pled his case, and based on the facts that as he presented them, with no disagreement to those facts, we thought he was deserving of that change. We did say, however, after he had left, that to contact Walters Building and let them know if they ever did any work for us in the future, that if there was a change, we needed to know that right away, not at the end of the project. And then the second thing we asked was that the concrete contractor be contacted and let them know that this was a problem, and they'd already been paid. Of course, we didn't know this until now, but
There's no way to get the money back?
no, we would take that into account on future bids,
Yeah, I
if
think so.
there was anything that came up, so.
I have a question. Wasn't, when they poured that slab, didn't somebody inspect it?
you're talking the top of a wall that's 10 feet tall. So I would say.
Well, was
yes,
the slab off 2 inches from one side to the other?
no, this is a concrete wall. The wood wall is built on top of it. The concrete
okay.
extends up about 10 feet above grade.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right.
And I do believe, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, at the time that they had measured for that, there was a bunch of snow and all that kind of stuff, and so they measured at one point, got their measurement for the metal. Is that correct? Or
I was not at finance as to listen to what their
Anyways,
explanation was.
we felt that Chad had made a good argument for why $1,300 was probably deserved on that.
Yeah.
So,
And just to clarify, we did verify that there is a little over 2 inches, you know, so Mike did say it takes some,
so, I just
surveyed
wanted
it afterwards, so, but it, again, did note in here that it would have been nice to have known
At the
that to
time,
begin
yeah.
with. And I think with the snow is when we bid it out, the contractor, if there hadn't been snow, possibly would have gone and taken those measurements, because of the snow, it looked right, and just made that assumption, because it was difficult to get to, so I don't, but that was, I think, the representation.
Okay.
that was it. Thanks.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second, correct? All right, any other discussion? If not, we have a roll call, please.
Alderman Stevnis?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.7, consider a 3-year contract extension with Baker Tilly for auditing services through the audit for fiscal year of 2021.
Mr. Mayor, this came before finance. It represents about a 3% increase each year of the contract. Of course, Baker Tilly has really done a great job for us and has actually helped us to reduce our costs significantly over the last 3 years, for sure. I would move to approve the execution of the 3-year contract renewal with Baker and Tilly and endorse going out for an RFP in 2021 for a 2022 audit.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, could I make a comment?
Yes.
I would recommend that due to the most recent agreement we entered into with Baker Tilly concerning the error that was made, that we incorporate that agreement into this contract. Otherwise, they could make an argument that that agreement is no longer in effect because it's not incorporated into this contract. If you recall, there was the, okay.
Good idea.
Mhm.
So maybe Mr. DeWitt would
I
like
certainly would amend my motion to include that agreement.
And I would second that amendment.
Okay. Everybody understands the motion? All right. If so, then may we have a roll call?
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stevnis?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Then, Mr. Mayor, we disapprove the amendment, so now we need to approve the underlying motion.
Okay. Everybody clear on the underlying motion? If so, thank you. Have a roll call.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stevnis?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 7.8, approval of bills warrant 19-06.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve warrant 19-06.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, may I have a roll call?
Alderman Henriette?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman DeWitt?
Yes.
Alderman Stevnis?
Yes.
Alderman Schrader?
Yes.
Alderman Deshner Brandt?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 8.1, consider modification to license premise at 627 South 2nd Street to provide for outdoor liquor service within fenced area, subject to the issuance of a special use permit for minor outdoor entertainment.
Mr. Mayor, I would go ahead and make said motion.
Second.
Go ahead, Jeff.
discussion. This is from Postscript Pub. They were actually at our GOC meeting earlier this month. He had come in with some sketches and stuff, and at that time we had asked staff to take a look at it, which they have done. So, Mark, I don't know if you want to give a little explanation, or Denise, or?
Okay, yeah, I just recommend, I think we're saying that it would be amended, the liquor license would be amended per the attached exhibit that would identify the premises that would be leased. And so that exhibit makes it clear, at least from my understanding, the representations that were made, is that the patrons would be served in that area, and the servers will be going through the rear door to provide service, and it's been marked. So there's areas that only the servers are allowed to have the alcohol, areas that the patrons can have it within the area, as well as the interior of the building. So I think the drawing hopefully identifies those, the specific licensed area and any restrictions that were provided so that they can actually get the liquor from the building to the patrons.
And just for the sake of public transparency, I believe this is only the second one of these that we've done. The first one was Mulligan's, which has since obviously burned down, but that one was much stricter in its scope. We did that back before we had started to become a little more lenient and follow the state guidelines
Right.
for this type
Right.
of thing. So that's what we're doing, basically.
Right, yes, so Mulligan's was under our old code that had like double fencing, et cetera.
Right.
And those requirements are not required under the state statute. When we reviewed all those provisions, I think around a year ago, and made those modifications, those are no longer requirements. The police department, however, reviewed this, and it had no concerns that having the designated area still meets that objective, and in this case, I think we are ensured that it is within a confined area where the patrons will be consuming the alcohol.
Any other discussion? There is a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.2, consider a proposed ordinance creating section 7-2-20 of the City of Delavan Municipal Code to designate a premier economic development district and authorize the issuance of additional liquor licenses within said district.
Mr. Mayor, I would go ahead and make the motion to create a section 7-2-20 of the City of Delavan Municipal Code designating a premier economic development district and authorizing the issuance of additional liquor licenses within said district, subject to staff review of the legal description.
Second?
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.3, consider Class B fermented malt beverages and Class C wine renewal liquor license application for Lonely GC Incorporated, DBA Yoshi.
Mr. Mayor, I would go ahead and make the motion to renew the liquor licenses, subject to the confirmation that any outstanding invoices have been paid.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.4, consider an ordinance amending the municipal code to provide for citizen representation on standing committees.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this kind of came from a discussion that was started with the Downtown Business Association and Alderman Schrader, that we would add proxy people and to fill in if somebody couldn't make a meeting, which I think when we have a lot of community representation on our committees, it's a good idea. I mean, not everybody can always make every meeting, so, so that's basically the gist of this. So I would go ahead and make that motion.
I would second that.
Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.1, consider city consent to all terms of a third amendment to Phase 1 reciprocal easement and operation agreement between DK 135 LLC, DP 71 LLC, Store, SPE Mills Fleet 2 at 2017-7 Partnership LLC and Meyer Stores Limited Partnership.
For the sake of discussion, I would go ahead and make said motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
And I think Attorney Cook could address this, but there was a couple of minor, maybe you want to,
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been discussing this Third Amendment with Attorney Thorpe, who represents DP 71 LLC and DKC 135 LLC. And the language within the Third Amendment to the Phase 1 reciprocal easement and operation agreement is fine with me. There is some minor changes that City Engineer Vogel requested to occur, and I have shared those with Attorney Thorpe, and I believe they're going to be made. They're like three minor changes to the exhibits. So that's why we're making it, that's why the motion is subject to the approval of the city engineer and the city attorney.
and these are really some easements, et cetera, that have been, that are required that we were required to modify, and now I think the original owner just wants to make sure that the final documents in the REA matches what's actually the final documents that were approved. And one of them was the easement with Fleet Farm. There was an encroachment into the water, so this reflects that. So now it's just, instead of having a wrong one attached, they wanted the right ones attached. So it is, I think, technical, just, I mean, there's nothing substantive really being changed in this amendment.
They're not gonna use these to build on anything, right?
No.
Okay. Well, you never know.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 10, public comments. Is there anybody in the audience who wish to speak at this time? There is none. Item 11, suggested future agenda items. If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion. Record. Well, that's gotta be a record.